Welcome to the Petaluma Rotary Club, 95 years strong, and I am pleasure to have you all here. I am Michael Nissler, your club president, and honored to be here. Welcome to the Petaluma Rotary Club. So, as we always start off with, is the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Sherry, would you please help us?
Together, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, next is our club song. For our club song, Wally Bragdon, would you please lead us in our special club song? And for those who are guests, please go ahead and come along and sing with us.
I'm a gambler, I'm a green lumber handler, I'm a chippo from Pelican Bay. So raise up your glasses and have one on me. I'm a fellow you seldom will see.
Yay! All right, so next up, God Bless America. Onita, would you please help us with God Bless America?
Certainly. Please join me.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
The thought for the day, which we always like to have at our Petaluma Rotary Club, is going to be coming to you from Lee Bean. Lee, would you please come up? You might want to come in on this side. It's a little bit cluttered on the other. All right.
Wow, got everything here. Well, in thinking about a thought for today, I couldn't help think about the problems that are going on in our country. With all the hatred and the uncivilized behavior, it's quite overwhelming, and the way in which our elected elite treat themselves and each other and our president is very destructive and very troublesome. But I must say, one of the things I like best about Rotary, we are non-political. So forgive me, I'm not going to get political. I ran into a quote by John F. Kennedy, and it could either be called a thought, a prayer. It is what I would think a reflection of Rotary. And the quote goes like this: "So let us not be blind to our differences. Let us also direct our attention to our common interests and the means by which these differences can be resolved."
Okay, at this time we have our moment of friendship. So if you would, please take a moment and say hi to our fellow Rotarians and our guests.
Thank you, Michael. We have from Sonoma Valley, everybody's from Sonoma Valley.
Yes.
Ron Lawson, Beth Fox, who's involved in nonprofit. Raise your hand. I didn't say Ron is involved in commodities and futures. Must be a broker.
Welcome, Ron.
John Carlson,
Big John.
retail sales. Gail Arrowwood,
Hey, Gail. Thank you.
mortgage banker. Byron Hancock,
Byron.
investment. And last but not least, Wayne Shockey.
And Wayne, thank you for coming on. Good to have you all here.
Gotta pick up my
Good job. Okay. And Rotarians, with guests. Do we have any Rotarians with guests? If so, please stand. Brett, good to have you here once again. You are coming accompanied. Good.
President Niffler and fellow Rotarians, I brought my daughter because she did not get enough of you last week. I brought her again this week. This is Marlo Shin.
Tell us one more time about when we have an opportunity to see her perform. Would you go ahead and give us a couple words? We'd love to hear that.
So at the Cinnabar Theater, I believe it's the first weekend in August.
Okay.
The night performances are when I'm performing.
What will your performance be?
Oh, right. It's Xanadu.
Ah, nice. So you're going to be singing or dancing or all of the above?
Singing, dancing, acting.
Good. We're good. I hope you know. First week in August, Cinnabar. Be sure to be there. Okay, the 2018-2019 board, we spoke about them last week, but we have one addition. The top 10 there in terms of seniority, and the next 4 down, and President Chris, and then we have one new coming in. We had one vacancy coming in, and on behalf of our STARS mentorship program, a very important program, we'll be talking more about that, but it is going to be Ann Gilda. Ann, welcome to the board. All right. So good to have you aboard. And fourth Wednesdays of the month, next Wednesday, come on up to my place and we'll break bread. Okay? Okay, bring wine. We'll get along just fine. Okay, one thing we don't always talk about is all the people that we have behind the scenes that do things. And Chris Elsey always sends out the duty roster. We have Wally this week doing the visiting Rotarians, the Vine Ken. Tom would be doing it. But we have something special going on. And I don't like to think of it as though they're fines. It's stewardship. We'll talk more about that. Mike is doing the microphone as appropriate, and Leroy did the thought of the day. So I just want to thank you all for doing this every week. Let's give a round of applause. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Okay, our rototellers is another thing. Last week I thought that Jane Saldana-Cali did an awesome job, but there are more. Al Catalini is in charge of it, Doug Hecker, Brandon, Jane, as I mentioned, Mike Badley, Joanne Ferris, and I think there's actually more, but I want to give them a round of applause also, because they do a lot of work, and it means a lot to the parents that can't make it, or we just want to go back. We get distracted sometimes, so thank you all for that. Okay, last week we talked about the high achievers for our campaign for getting new members in. Bringing people in to meetings is how we get new members, just like how we all one time got here. And so we had Ed Fullerton last week, and we were able to give him an award. And then someone who was not able to be here last week but is here this week, and also tied with having 3 people go. Joanne Ferris, would you please come up? Now, thank you so much for all of you here. Here is what I'd like to have. You're going to get some Paul Harris points, and thank you. And oh, by the way, here's some business cards there. You never know. They might be handy. Thank you. Okay, soon we'll be having our speaker from Sonoma Valley Rotary Club, and came with an entourage, which is great. So that will be our speaker for today. I will introduce them in a little bit. Next up, next week, we are going to be having the Assistant District Governor, Len Giraldi, representing Barb Spangler, who will be coming here actually the 1st of November as she goes on her tour. And they're going to be talking about what our Rotary International President, Barry Rassin, his plans and things, and you'll be hearing more of that roll out as we go into the year. So that's next week. After that, the evening of the 26th is Aloha Time. Now, I asked Lori Darling, what a nice name, isn't it? Who's going to be the one coordinating that up there on behalf of the Sunrise Club from Sebastopol. And it'll be at the Boleto Vineyards. We were there, I think Chris and I, about a year and a half ago. And so the Pinot for Polio wine, that's where it comes from. If you're interested in buying a case, they have it at a great discount. And it also counts towards your Paul Harris points. But if you're interested Gail, you're the person to see. So this is normally $50. This one is on the club. So if you're interested in that, a free meal. And I asked them, well, what's the agenda? As you know, I oftentimes talk about what's the why, what's the benefit. And they said, well, the district has 2 each year that is for fun. Can you imagine that? Fun fellowship. So if you want to go ahead and have some nice tri-tip and a good evening, come along with us. We'll carpool together. And I welcome you all to be there. Okay, club speakers and events. So on August 6th, I will be back at it again, and we will be talking about goals, and we'll have breakout sessions to talk about committee work and survey feedback. So if you haven't got your survey in yet on the website, we've sent emails out on that, but we have till the end of this month to get in. We have 33 responses so far. I'd like to see if we can get up about 40 or 50. And that will be shared with the board meeting on next Wednesday, and then it will be shared with you. And so once you complete the survey, you can see immediately what's the results quantitatively in each category. You can write in the last couple questions is where you want to see improvements in the club. Those will be something that we will just go ahead and share with the board and give the highlights to you also. So if you want us to make some improvements in the clubs, fine. And if you'd rather do it this way, the good old-fashioned box there, you can make your suggestions and comments as well. Okay, August 3rd, we have something really good coming on, which is a kind of a tri-club event. I think other Rotary clubs may be there as well, but this is going to be Broadway Under the Stars. We did that last year, had a great time. We will be doing our own carpooling to get up there. So I think initially we were going to have the 5:30, so let me just see if Joanne has any final words on anything else to say about that? But I guess 7:30, I think, is about when the performance starts?
Yes, and the gates, the picnic grounds open at 5 o'clock at Jack London State Park. They have wine to purchase, they have food trucks. We can come on in and picnic, and at 7 o'clock they open the gates to go into the performance. And it's important that you go to our website and click on the link to buy your tickets directly from Broadway Under the Stars. They are giving us a really good deal, price break, and that way you can just pay them directly. And about maybe later this week we'll send out an email to find out just who's going, and then we can work on carpooling and meeting up and then driving over together.
Great. I'm looking forward to that. It'll be a lot of fun. And Past President Chris Franny, would you like to say a couple words on behalf of the International August 6th.
Thank you, President Michael. On behalf of Sherry and the international teams with the 3 clubs, Petaluma Valley, Sunrise, and our club, on Monday, August 6th, a For the Children pasta dinner, going to be funding children around the rural projects, and it's going to be at Brewster's from 5 to 8. The tickets are only $20. $10 for kids 6 to 12, and children under 6 are free. So Sherry had a great meeting the other night. We have another one on Sunday. It's all 3 clubs putting together this event. So please, if you have any tickets, if you want to buy some tickets today, I'll take them, take the money. But it should be a lot of fun. I really encourage you to bring your kids, grandkids, or whoever, because there's a lot of great entertainment. We have 3 or 4 different forms of entertainment that are youth focused. So thank you, President Michael.
My pleasure. Thank you. Committee opportunities. We have 3 committee openings that are up there. I just want to let the club know I would love your input if you would like to be a committee chair. But one of them is the dictionary program, which was formerly done by Jeff Ellis. I'm sure he'll give some good continuity training, but he's looking to do some other things in our club. So the dictionary program is one thing that we have open. And then the super raffle. We have, once again, we have Brian and Rick doing that, and they would like to have some other people in the future years. So I love the idea of me thinking about the president-elect next year. So if you are interested in just being a shadow, working with them, they would be happy to get you up to speed. Similarly, the golf tournament, Chad's been doing this for several years, and it's really, along with Charlie, has done a great job, and they would like to have somebody else come up so that eventually we have some succession plan. So if you're interested in any of these 3, please see me, and we'll make it happen. Okay, next up is stewardship time. And as I mentioned, no fines, no gratitude. We're a fun club here, and so I guess Elias Hussery. Would you please come up? I'd like to think of me as you being your Dutch uncle, and I want you to come up as kind of like my nephew, and I've got some things here I'd like to chat with you. Just come on up. Yeah, but this would be a great time for you to get, because, you know, some people, they like attention. You know, over the last weeks, you know, I've had a couple things that have been going on, you know, is that, first of all, I want to know, Elias, here, let me give you a microphone. This is very important that you can participate man to man, so to speak. Sure. So when your children misbehave, I mean, do you have any special things you do to, what do you do when somebody misbehaves?
They don't misbehave.
They don't misbehave. You've heard it here first then. Well, that's beautiful. I guess because what happened is that, you know, Gary Brody, he had this term he called the rat patrol. Are you familiar with the term rat patrol, what that means?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, what does it mean to you?
You know, I can't, if you're going to ask me for my sources.
No, I'm not yet. No, we're not there yet. I'm just saying, generally, what does a rat patrol mean? Okay, so it's one an informant, I guess, really is what my understanding. So, you know, the Justice Department, and we read about those and hear about those, no politics, but, you know, they have an informant program. It's a wonderful program, so that, you know, sometimes when you do this is that people have a lot of information. So I have a video, and I think it would be nice to show the video and see, you know, because we record these sessions, and so let's see if I can get a video up here that kind of will help us get a better understanding on some things that happened last week. There we go. Let's see what this shows.
So it's interesting is when we were doing the round robin, I think I would like, who is my right arm man here? Al Catalini was the one who brought me in a club. Al, would you please keep your eye over here, because for some reason the switch gets turned off every once in a while, so I've had to do some rebooting operations here, so this is the way we do in our club. So at any rate, let's see if I can get things running again here. This might be a moment.
What are you implying?
There is no implication. I'm just asking you to take a look at the facts and see, you know, just the facts, man. So, what's your thoughts?
You know, actually, my attorney is Mike, and he's not here today.
Oh,
I guarantee you, he's going to say there isn't enough evidence to prove anything there.
I see. So that's it. Well, you know, because we lost power and. You know, my girl, he said, you know, be prepared for anything last week. And she's like, even bring my own generator. So, let's see. Power on.
I already took out the gas.
Do you want me to run this underneath? Does that work? Because if we got overloaded, I can use this.
I still don't understand where you're going with this.
Well, I guess it boils down to
like time, so you don't say too much.
Yeah, we'd like to talk about stewardship. So, you know, last week Chris generously gave $100. In fact, you know, I lost my gavels in my belt. I got all these gavels, and I had to pay $100 for those. So, I'm just kind of wondering how you feel about stewardship.
Oh, I think it's great.
did. I sure did. Chris
I'm just a
did.
little confused why I'm up here. Just because you saw a video of me in that area, that doesn't mean anything.
No, it's kind
Tell you what,
of
Mike.
it's a leadership thing. So in addition, we have a $100 schedule. We have.
Just to shorten things up, I'll just give you $25. You're going to go sit down.
$25. Well, we're already up to 100, but since you bring that up,
50, we just end it right now.
I don't know. 50 is you're getting warm, so.
I'll put 50, you put the other 50.
Well, let's say that I put in the other 50, but I'm not through yet. Because we also have the TRF. Are you familiar with the TRF?
TRF.
It stands for the Rotary Fund. We also would like all of our members to put in $50 into the Rotary Fund, and Polio Plus has another
This is
50.
not any. Okay, I'll give you 100.
We have our foundation. Okay, we get 100 for the lawyer. Thank you, my friend. Was that fun? Next up, we are going to have our raffle. And we have the raffle box. The winning raffle ticket is, the last 3 numbers of the raffle is 306. 306. If you have 306, please come on up. Uh-oh. Who has it? Nobody's claiming it except me, but... Hey, okay, come on down. So it's our custom, we have like a bunch of rocks in here. We have some blue rocks and we have one brown rock. Hey, this came back too. That was nice, whoever had it. It's like nice that these things are showing up. So see if you get a blue or brown. Brown rock will get you $50. Blue rock?
We have a tradition that
yes?
Once he pulls them up, it's not the winner who puts it back in.
Oh, we have a side pocket, a blue rock, so you have a nice bottle of Pinot for Polio coming from Goleta Vineyards. So, okay, congratulations. Okay, we're doing fine on time this week, so next up is going to be our Sonoma Valley Rotary Club. Now, I spoke to Byron back at Pets, and then again, thinking is that, what's a hyper-successful club? What's their secret sauce? And Byron, and he brought some of his staff here who also contribute to the club's success. But, I was just amazed to see a club grow as fast as it does with membership. The money they get in, the LARCA amount that we did across the other 45 clubs or so, they did about the same in their club. Their foundation in each year, they have a big foundation. And they have a very rigorous process on how the money gets spent. So they do a ton for the community, and I was just hoping that we could get Byron and his team to share some words with it. So Byron, would you come up, and I will get your presentation up also. So you want to just take it away, and away you go.
Thank you. First of all, I wanted to thank all of you for having us here today. Michael asked me, as he said, back in the springtime when we were at Pets, or right after that, about coming over here to talk about what's perceived to be a great club. But I got a whole list of stuff I'm taking back to our club about how you run this meeting. Now, that's really impressive. But I couldn't do that without asking some of the very, very special people to come with me, who are on our team, but they're not my staff. That's pretty good. But we have about 89 members. We just got down to 89 members when we had to pay dues on July 1st, so we carved some out there. And we've had as many as about 105, 110. We meet at Ramekins. We have a great meeting space, much as this is. We don't have this kind of view, however. And we have a lot of fun, like you clearly have a lot of fun. And we have a lot of members that are over the age of 70, which I think is pretty common in Rotary. And we have about, John, is it 29% women? Yes. So we have about 29% women, and 3 of our past presidents in the last few years have been women as well. So we're excited about that. Let's do that. So it runs the gamut, really, of a whole lot of like the Rotary clubs. And I think we are amongst the largest. Santa Rosa Club is larger. And I'll tell you what, I'm just 2 weeks, having run the meeting for 2 weeks and run some big events there along with Gail and other members. And it's a lot easier in a big club than a small club. There's simply, I think, because there's simply more people to call on. And like in your club, no one in our club says no. So it's pretty great that way. But I saw what Mike wanted me to talk about, so I thought, well, I can't really talk about the fire relief effort. I'm going to bring Vic Kahuna with me. So you're going to hear from Ron about the fire, from Gail about the foundation area, because she, not the community service and the money that we give out, because she has developed a really great method that did not used to exist. We used to kind of give out money every time somebody asked for money, and it wasn't very organized, and we'd run out of money, we'd get overcommitted, 2 years in the hole, we'd have to raise more money, we'd have member burnout. So we got very organized at that way. And Beth Fox is in charge of fundraising, so she's raising the money that Gail's giving away. And so we're doing that. That's about $100,000 a year plus that we give away. Wayne's going to talk about international and what we're doing with international, along with this basketball club and a few other clubs here. And John's our secretary. That's a big job, because in our club we have a lot of people who, you know, change emails and phone numbers and don't tell us, so that's all people. So he's going to speak about some of the things that he has found to be really helpful to him, and that really makes our whole club run more smoothly. And then we're going to, so everybody just have 2 or 3 minutes, and then we'll do Q&A at the end. We really are grateful that President Michael feels that we're worthy to come speak to you. Well, no, I'm serious. I've taken a whole page of notes now about what I need to do and running the meeting, and we're debating. So this video belongs to the golf club, is that right? And who owns the computer? Is that you?
Yeah, our computer. Actually, we did pay for this a couple of years ago. Past President Gary Brody was able to have some money in the year, and so we have a nice monitor.
Wow, and so we're gonna, because we just have a screen. And if the speaker comes with a thing, thumb drive, and say, how do we put it in? How do we put it in? So we're a little mesmerized by all of that. What's that? Yes, having money at the end of the year. But we're going to get a few more members, and then we'll be able to pay for them. So first, I'd like to ask Gail to come and talk about what she's doing with community service and the schedule, and it's really a lot of different communication that she's developed, so people know in the community what we're doing.
Thank you. My name is Gail Arrowwood, and I am actually really at home here. I raised 5 kids here in Petaluma. I've had 3 that graduated Casa Grande and 2 from Petaluma High. My main focus is the grant process and how we distribute the money. So it might be kind of boring for some of you, but it's been a process for sure. This is my 3rd year, so each year I try and tweak a form or a process or something so that it's a little bit more streamlined for the committee. Our committee is generally about 8 to 15 people, depending on the year who shows up at the meetings. So we have a good-sized committee with a lot of varied opinions and strong voices. So it can be acquainted on the committee, and it can be a pretty fun time, right? When I first came into the position, I asked other clubs to provide their grant application to me because I thought, why should I be reinventing the wheel? The president at that time said, Gail, we need a strong application process. I didn't know how to start that process, so I just asked everyone else, what do you do? So I got all the forms, I narrowed it down, and downsized it, condensed it to a 1-page application, which some of them were multiple pages. Not there's anything wrong with that. I just felt like a lot of people don't have that much of an attention span. So then we discussed what we would fund and what we would not fund. So that built our funding guidelines. So whenever someone is sent an application, they also get our funding guidelines. And the last thing we want is to receive requests that don't even meet our guidelines. So sometimes when I receive them ahead of time, I can review them and I can give them a call and say, hey, you might not want to word it this way. We might want to change some things. Is there something else we can direct this money to? So that's been really helpful. We do review the applications twice a year now, March 31st and October 31st are the deadlines. That way we're not reviewing them constantly throughout the year. And I can, it takes a lot to herd cats and to get everybody into a meeting to review them all anyway. So twice a year is about as much as I think we can ask the whole committee to get together and review these applications. One of the things that I did was to start a spreadsheet, and I list the project, I list the requested amount, another column for what did we give them or did we not give them. I've also just recently listed, did we give them any money the previous year? So that's kind of right in front of people. So I emailed copies of all of the full applications, as well as this kind of cover spreadsheet that summarizes it all for the committee members. That has seemed to make it a lot easier. My goal as a committee chair is to have everyone review that information before they even show up to the meeting. Most of the people do. We generally receive anywhere from 15 to 30 requests each time. And as Byron stated, we do raise about $100,000 a year now. That's our goal. In the past, when I first started, we had a much bigger event. We were raising over 150 up to 200,000 a year, and it was quite time-consuming to go through all of that. It was a great thing to get that much money, but the events we had to plan were also quite time-consuming. So the spreadsheet, I think the committee has found really helpful, just to have that summary of everything that's behind it, so they can go through and review and make their own notes about where they feel the money, will be worthwhile and used. The other thing that was instituted is a 5-year tracking, because we don't want to continually, especially with the change of committee chairs, you don't want to continually, or we don't, I should say, we don't, you might, but we don't want to continually give to the same organizations over and over and over again. We want to spread the wealth. We do have a few what we call legacy grant programs, so those are generally smaller and they're youth oriented. That every year, I do ask them to reapply, but in general, we give them something. And I think that's about it. I think I did everything.
Thank you, Gail. One thing if I can ask. Gail, I just went on your website, and I think over on the right-hand side, is this kind of the basis of the template that you give out, and they get scored, basically?
Yes, the next page is the funding guidelines. Mm-hmm. That's sort of the criteria that we will judge them on. Okay. And then when we go to committee to review them, I have this information in sort of a spreadsheet with check boxes. If it helps the committee member to go through and review and check off things, it meets this, it doesn't meet that.
Good. Thank you again.
So like Gail said, we used to give away a lot more money, and we were coming to have member burnout. And so we consciously reduced our funding goals, and that's why our committee became even more stringent. So some people were thinking they were getting 5,000 or 10,000 every year, just sort of all the time. So we did this. She mentioned some events. We used to have an event in August, and then we moved it to October under a tent and pouring down rain, and it was a costume party, and it was crazy. But we used to raise $150,000 at that event. And then we also had a St. Patrick's Day event, which was much smaller. We've deleted the event in the fall that used to be called Applause, which was at Hannah Boys Center for over 300 people. And now we focus on St. Patrick's Day only. So that's our major fundraiser. Yes, sir.
Quick question, how much do you actually distribute per year? Is it from a percentage of the foundation?
We distribute everything that we bring in.
It's all
well, I shouldn't say that. We divide it up between fall and spring because we only have one fundraiser now. But it depends on how much. It depends on how much we raise. And then the president will direct me and the committee as to how much we should give away or can give away, because we have to reserve some for special needs. Do you have a limit for each person? No.
We don't have a limit in our Rotary.
We don't have a limit.
Oh, a limit per grant?
Yes. No.
Oh.
There's no limit for what you can request. It doesn't mean you're going to get it all.
What's your largest grant that we did in the spring in dollars?
This year?
Yeah.
Oh, this year was all, they were all very small. I think it's about 3,500.
Yeah. So we have done capital campaigns. If you've been in Sonoma to the community center, which is where the Sonoma Arts Live performs, that's called the Rotary Stage. If you get, yeah, and that was a capital. That was like a 3-year thing. We did the kitchen there for $50,000. We did the stage for $100,000. That's all in like the last 8 years. But that was a multi-year kind of idea.
Surgery center.
And the surgery center at the hospital, like a new emergency room, part of it. There. One of them's dedicated there. What's that? And last year's major focus was a maker's lab in the elementary school in honor of and named in honor of one of our recently deceased members. And that was about 90 in total, which was about 65 to start it, right? And then the other money was to replenish the stuff over the next 3 years. So that's at Altamira Elementary School. That was a big fundraiser. Definitely that year we raised about 160 or 150,000, but a lot of that was from the Fund to Need in honor of that deceased member who died while she was serving a membership chair. So that was a very special opportunity. So Gail gives it away, Beth raises the money.
I told my whole story. You sure?
Before that, let's tell the audience what you do professionally.
So I am a major gift officer at Hannah Boy Center. So fundraising is kind of my passion and my thing. As Byron said, at Rotary, we used to do more fundraising and bigger fundraising. Really, we were only raising about $50,000 more, but we had a strategic plan a couple years ago and decided there was so much fundraising that people were feeling burned out and resentful, and people were less likely to join because there was, we had our hand out all the time. So we decided to have one fundraiser and just own St. Patrick's Day and do our fundraiser around that. So we do a big raffle, $50 a ticket, and we raise $100,000 through that raffle. And then we have an event on St. Patrick's Day. It's a $10,000 prize, and we give the prize at St. Patrick's Day. It's always very festive and very fun. We call the winner if they're not there right at the event. And we do a couple of buy-ins at the event. We have some wine tastings we do that we sell, and they're very community oriented too. We have one tonight, and there are 30 people coming, and they're just really, really fun. And we have sponsors that pay for the $10,000 prize. And the prize is actually $10,000 or a trip to Ireland, and everyone always takes the money. The person who won this year actually was our city manager, and that also was really fun because everyone, Sonoma's a small town. People loved her, and it was just great that she won.
Is it a dinner?
The St. Patrick's Day is a dinner, and our own Rotary people put the dinner on. It's not catered. We have for the Rotary, we have 6 teams. They have about 10 to 15 people on each team, and so there's a little competition, and last year I had to call them on it because there was so much trash talk going on between them about who raised the most money and who had the most participation. We asked for 100% participation. We asked everybody to sell at least 10 tickets. And what was your question? And then we have this great dinner, corned beef and cabbage, wine. Yeah, really great dinner, actually. Yeah, and we had a comedian there this year, which was kind of unusual and really fun.
How many people showed up?
There were probably
170 around?
220 meals, so 175.
Yeah.
So I think our RSVP was close to 200.
And in order to get to work in the kitchen on the cooking staff, you had to have sold 20 tickets. And so there was some competition about that too. Everybody, we announced every week that to be on the kitchen crew, you get a special hat, and that crew had some special things going on in the kitchen, and everybody wanted to be on the kitchen crew, and so there was some. That was really fun too. So what we've tried to do is just change the culture to where the fundraising is just really fun, really intense. From about, they can try to get tickets out around Thanksgiving or Christmas. We can give them as gifts, and then it goes to March, and then it's done. So we've used River Raffle, which is an online. But we're really reevaluating that this year. We may do something in-house. But also, one of the things that I think has really helped is that we're trying to train, or at least I am trying to train Rotary to do things online. So there's not so much money flying around, and just so people can just go to a link and buy their tickets and be done. So that's one thing that will change. Are you going to talk about fundraising around the fires? Yeah.
Quickly, in terms of that, I had one members, I would buy their tickets if they bought them more. But anyway, we're in Sonoma.
Everyone in Sonoma buys a ticket. I mean, everybody knows somebody, so I think everybody in Sonoma really, it also brings a lot of branding to us too, I think. And then that money goes straight back to the community. So we're raising $100,000 that Gail is, that goes back to the people in the community. So there's just a lot of good PR around all of that. Questions?
Thank you. Wayne Shockey heads up our international committee, and he does such a great job. And he does on-site visits to South and Central America as well before he gives away Rotary member. He works with other clubs as well for those grants, which are so confusing.
Thanks. I'll try and be really quick. But before I go, my good friend and colleague Ed Fullerton is here. He and I were based in Berlin in the mid-'80s for 3 years, flying with Pan Am, flying with Quarters. So it's good. I run into him everywhere. It's good to see him. I've been international for 3 years because I'm an international guy. I like to go to these places if we give money away. I've been here about 3 years on the international. The first year, I wasn't smart enough to know about district grants and global grants and things like this. So we gave, through Gail, her committee, we gave $5,000 to a group of high school kids who are going to go on a summer trip to go to Nicaragua with an organization out of Sonoma called Seeds of Learning. I've gone there 3 or 4 times myself to build schools way out of the country. So Gail was generous enough to give $5,000 to these kids to help them go down to Nicaragua. The first year we also, besides that, we gave $15,000 to this organization to build completely a Rotary Learning Center in a really remote area down there. Our focus right now is, my committee, as we get our money for international, is to partner with other clubs that are doing district grants so that we can get that multiplier of 3.5. So we give $1,000 to a club that has a global grant approved. That multiplies, and we help them. And then at some point, it's just kind of camaraderie. They'll probably help us. So this year we've partnered. We have 3 things. We're partnering with a club in Chicago to do a cervical clinic in Senegal. We're doing a project in Nicaragua with another club. We're doing a global grant that we're about to launch with a eye center in Varanasi, India. So we're trying to work hard to all do global grants so we get the multipliers. We had a bad incident 2 years ago when we funded this learning center in Nicaragua, and we sent these kids down. On the last day that we were there, we took the kids, and I was there, we took the kids on a swimming party that morning on the way to the airport. And one of the kids, unfortunately, was competing with another kid to see who could hold their breath the longest, and he drowned. So it was a terrible setback for us. for our town. But anyhow, I think we're doing good things, and I hope we can partner with you guys. You can partner with us sometime, and we can do some good in the world.
John's our secretary, and I am so lucky as president because a year ago he had just come on as secretary, but our treasurer, who's not here with us today, wasn't even in place. We had a treasurer. The immediate past presidents needed to select a new treasurer. He deceased in about 2 months' time. We were already up to September, October when our current treasurer took over. So I'm so lucky relative to Treasury, but John is our secretary who works very hard to keep me on the straight and narrow.
Which isn't easy. I'm John Colston, secretary, and I've only been in the job maybe 3 years. That might be my fourth. It seems like forever, but I know it's one of those positions that you never get out of, and it's kind of a thankless job. But with 89 members, it's really hard to keep track of everybody coming and going, and at Ramekins they count the plates, so it's, I have to make sure that the plates and attendance and all that match. So my goal this year is to make sure that everybody in the club can go on the website and at least update their personal information. They expect me to do it for them. Get your picture on there. If you change your email, if your birth dates are wrong, your anniversary dates are wrong, because we celebrate those. They always blame it on me, but when actually they could, keep their own information current on the personal section. I do the Rotary. The other thing is, I'm not sure, we are on Club Runner, and I'm not sure if you're on DAC-DB. Club Runner, okay. So does everybody on their smartphone have the Club Runner app? Yes. No. Everybody in this club, if you're going to continue on Club Runner, you need to go to the App Store and get your Club Runner app. Because it is such an invaluable tool. I taught our president to use it, and he can't say enough about it. Basically, you have your club's information at your fingertips. If you want to know how to get to Michael's house, you just go to Michael, you click on his address, and then over here on the right, it has a little direction sign. You click on that, and immediately the Google map comes up how to get there. So everybody's spouse is on there, their addresses, their cell phone numbers, their telephone numbers, their business numbers, what they do. It's invaluable, and that's the only reason I'm not sure if DAC-DB has that, but that's the reason we are staying with Club Runner. So, any questions? Go to the App Store, get your Club Runner. You have to know your login and your password. So, you might have to get that. If you don't remember what it is, you might have to get it from your secretary. Okay? Thanks.
And about that app, when Gail and I were running Applause, which is our big event a few years ago, it was amazing to me how many people would email me or call me for someone's contact information. I would go on my PC at my office and go into Club Runner and get it and recite it back to them. And Gail did this all at the time from her phone. She hadn't shared this little app with me. And John shared it a year ago or something. And I thought if it was just the information there, it would be useless. So what I wanted to tell you is once you have it on your phone, you can click and call, you can click and text, you can click and email. So it's not just an informational thing, it's actually the action there. So I invite you to look at all of that. I've saved the big kahuna for the last. So I want to introduce Ron Lawson. His business is his own business is the one that hosted this our fire relief effort. Ron is our president-elect next year, and Ron is big man on campus, especially at St. Patrick's Day, what Beth was talking about, our event. He runs the kitchen and does the corned beef and cabbage, and he buys the Jamesons. And you can't have the Jamesons unless you've got a green hat and you sold 20 raffle tickets, all that kind of a thing. Incentive. So this is Ron Lawson.
Okay, we'll get through this real quick because everybody's trying to get home or back to work. So I was noticing there's a lot of similarities between this club and our club. And I look down here and it's kind of like some of my report cards, 3 Ds and 2 Fs. So, fun. You guys look like you have a lot of fun. I think that's the key to our club. If you're not having fun, why bother? Right? You have 364 things you can do besides going to a meeting, so you have fun. and friendship. I mean, the mere fact that you guys go and give each other hugs, we did that, we get in trouble. But God bless you. We'll see. Okay. Diversity. I brought this up at one of our board meetings, how diverse our club is. And it's kind of like a family reunion every Wednesday at lunch. When I first joined, it was a very homogenous club, a bunch of guys that looked like each other. And it kind of was a little more of a locker room frat party. Now with the ladies and an immensely diverse club, it's like a family reunion. You know, everybody's giving everybody a hard time, having a good time. You get up to go to work that morning, you put on the press shirt instead of not so. You try and look a little, you get a press shirt, you with your family. Direction. Everybody's going the same direction. And I think that's key. I've been on a lot of boards, corporate boards, where you've got certain people with an agenda that isn't the same. But in our club, it's everybody's going to the same direction. And that keeps everything on our even keel. And the last D is drama. We don't have it. That's one of the things we had a big strategic committee meeting. We found that one of the most destructive things that can happen to a club is if there's drama, there's backbiting, there's, oh, I don't like that guy, or what about it? No, we just talk it out like it's in a family. You guys seem like you're very open and talk to a group, and that's great. Another thing is, I think is key, we take our mission seriously. We just don't take ourselves seriously. Right? We like to have fun. Like you say, if you're going to be in the kitchen with us, you know, we have our own beer, our own wine, and Mr. Jameson's helps make the meal. It works out really well that way. Then when the fires hit, it all kind of came together. We were Sunday night when those first fires hit. By Monday morning, a couple of our club members had already started feeding first responders. They opened up a restaurant that one of our past president was in Hong Kong. His son-in-law opened the restaurant. They started making food for the first responders. We had our meeting by Wednesday. We decided we got to do something. So we opened up, you can see here, for our first part by farm, we have a lot of office buildings, and we just started putting out the word for donations. One of the guys, new member, J.J. Ely, went online and established SonomaStrong.com to give, not just money, but in kind. And we started to take collections. Absolutely amazing what can happen when people want to reach into their pocket, into their heart, and help. I can see around this club, like every other club, we all tend to pick each other's pockets, right? He takes another, and he goes right around. Same thing in the small town. How many different charities do you donate to because your buddy donated to yours, so you donate to theirs? What we found here was people came from outside the community to donate. We had the chairwoman of Sonoma, William Sonoma, come from San Francisco with her entire C-suite, 7 women, 7 Range Rovers, filled to the top. Not with their stuff. They went to Costco and got stuff that people would need. And they made 2 trips. We had a semi-truck from Reno, Nevada, full of donations. We had a couple that drove from Phoenix, Arizona, with donations. We had twice that I was in, because I had to run my business at the same time, but twice when I was there, a couple came in and wrote us a $10,000 check. They lost a house. Both of these couples. It was their guest house or their vacation home. They were from San Francisco. And I said, here, this is for the people who live here full time. So to know that Rotary is there and to have the trust that Rotary is going to do the right thing with money. It goes so long, it goes so far. Your weight is carried. We actually raised $1 million in fortune and in kind to give away. We turned down more than $1 million. We had a very large charity out of Marin offer to give us $1 million to donate because they knew it was going to go in the right place. What the heck are we going to do with $1 million? It was hard to give this money away. We found all the people that lost their homes, and we started giving them gift certificates to grocery stores, to clothing stores, Visa cards. Get back on your feet. You have to go. Your insurance might give you an apartment, but you have to eat. You have to get dressed. What do you do? So we had people come in, and they were able to pick out clothing, new clothing, used goods. And then we realized it was going to be a longer process. And under Gail's tutelage, we opened up a kitchen kit. Donations from all across the country came in, and we were giving people an instant kitchen kit. About $900 worth of pots and pans, and plates, dishware, silverware. So now, okay, your home is gone, you're renting a house, you're renting an apartment. Here's your kitchen. And here's $500 to Levin's, or the same way. So we try to take care of the people that the community needed the most. Sonoma's kind of a pricey place to live as it is. So if you're a teacher, if you're a firefighter, a government official, a nurse, it can be expensive. You're on the edge. Maybe I'm just going to quit this area and go find someplace else. So we concentrate on taking care of those people that take care of us in the community. And that guided our decisions on how we took care and how we distributed. So by the time it was done, we put a deadline of 6 months, and then we got rid of everything that we had raised, and we moved on. And we had a thank you party. We invited everybody that came and helped. And so, if I reflect back on what I was telling you earlier, when we look back on it, it says, how the heck did we do that? If you don't, while you're doing something like this, you don't realize it's a big deal. But you think back, and it was a pretty big deal. And you go home every day wondering, well, why didn't my house get burned down? Look at all these poor people, you helped them out. And it really kind of touches you. The reason we were successful is because of Rotary. And because people trusted us to donate to Rotary, and what they knew was going to get back into the right hands. So thank you for inviting us here, and you guys were all the same thing, we're all the same big family, and come on over and see us in Sonoma. Awesome. Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you, Byron. I will share some information for you. I don't know if anybody has any other questions. Before I take your question, I do want to say that toward the end, we had over $200,000 in cash left, and we're looking to give it away. There were about 40 first responders in Sonoma Valley that lost their homes entirely while they were out fighting the fire. Their house had already burned or was burning. So we initially had given them about $500 a piece, which is what we were doing for everybody. We had a little over $200,000 left. We gave them in each of those 40 an additional $5,000 in cash in the check. So that felt really good to be able to do, because those people really needed it the most. They're trying to save us and their place is burned down. I'm not sure I can do that, to tell you the truth. That was very, very tough. But anyway, any questions?
I do have one question, actually, and that is, now you grow your club, and I thought that you had a spin-off club or a satellite club. That's my one question.
We have a Sonoma Sunrise was chartered in June. Lunchtime doesn't work for everybody, and our dues are $1,600 a year. That does not work for everybody. That includes lunch whether you come or not. So 2 members, a past president and his son-in-law, started the Sunrise Club. And they now, so we only have 2 members that went from our club to Sunrise. They have 30 members. So they have their 28 new Rotarians in town that couldn't go to lunch or didn't like that price point. And we actually have, our club has a husband and the Sunrise has the spouse, has the wife. And I think that's actually, I'm working on doing that again with somebody else in there. So they're a big Rotary fan.
Good. Well, thank you so much for coming. Let's give everybody a round of applause. And I'll have something for you. We always want the speaker. No, not the generator. We have a speaker for either yourself. Here's a case for it. So thank you once again for coming and for all of you. Okay, with that, the meeting shall be adjourned. I hope you will have a good day. And here is our new bell. Take care, everyone, and see you on the flip side.